Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to you all. We'll start with our gathering song, Building Bridges. We'll sing it 3 times. I'll play it through once so you get the melody so we can all sing along. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friend, we could make such sweet harmony.
Good morning and welcome to the online service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. We're so glad that each of you are able to join us this morning, and together in community, we can ensure that social distancing does not mean social disengagement. Our weekly services are more than just a gathering of our physical bodies. It is the forming of a sacred time that we can make together. I'm Cheryl Edelin, happy to say that we found this congregation when Barbara Fast was its minister. I served on her Ministerial Relations Committee and the Green Team. I've always sung in the choir, substituted as the church musician, provided duo piano music for services, accompanied the Christmas Eve services, and created that mysterious group we call the Fourscore Ministry. Whether you are well-versed in the technology of teleconferencing or this is your first venture, we welcome you. For those of you new among us or reconnecting with fonder hearts, we invite you to introduce yourselves and where you are connecting from in the chat box as you are comfortable. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, whatever your theological stance, whatever your heritage, whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. You can learn more about us on our website and Facebook page. We encourage you to share our Facebook page and reach out to others who may be isolated at this time and might benefit from the spiritual connection of this loving community. There are 3 announcements this morning. Men Conversing Over Coffee will meet on Monday, July 12th, that's tomorrow, at 9:30, out of doors at UUCD in the new parking lot in the shade where weather cooperates. Contact Gary Mummert and Joe Gelati for more information. Women on Our Own will meet, no, Women on Our Own will not meet Tuesday. They are taking a summer break for July and August and will return in the fall. The Conversations Book Group will be meeting at 7 o'clock on Thursday, July 15th via Zoom, and we're reading the second half of The Codebreaker by Walter Isaacson. Marianne Kula will be the moderator, so contact Marianne for the Zoom link. After our service, we invite you to stay and participate in a breakout group for individual connections and deeper check-ins. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury, where we welcome all in the spirit of compassion, inquiry, and service.
Thought I unmuted there. Now it's time for our chalice lighting, and I will take this opportunity to mention that I am in Danbury on Pawgusset lands, and I will light the chalice, and then I never want to miss the first word of the affirmation, so we'll do that together. Ready? Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. Our opening words this morning are a song. This comes from the grounding service from General Assembly this year, which is a worship they do every morning. It will be performed, not sung, as you'll see, but led by the Reverend Jacqueline Brett, who's a UU minister for congregational engagement in Durham, North Carolina, although she's originally from Brooklyn. And she's a really cool lady, so I encourage you to look her up. We had some technical difficulties with this, so if it seems to work for most people, but if you're not able to enjoy it, just know that others are.
Circle Round for Freedom is our commitment and our prayer. As this song weaves its way throughout our service, we invite you to join us in a body prayer as the words are being sung. The melody will play now as I demonstrate the simple movements of the prayer. I invite you to join in as you feel ready and as you are able. I also invite you to not be too concerned about getting it perfect or right. Simply allow your heart to guide you.
Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us in prison. Circle for release. Oh, circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us in prison. Circle for release. Oh, circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Now, let us embark on our
And there we go. And now Nancy will lead us in the children's affirmation.
Good morning. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds. Loving, oh, I'm sorry, the children's affirmation. Yeah.
That's right.
Did I get it right? Open minds. Loving hearts and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other.
Today's book for the Time for All Ages is The Scare Bunny by Dorothy Kuhnhart. And that name may sound familiar to some of you. That's because she wrote Pat the Bunny. Once there was a little boy named Tam who lived with his mother and father in a nice house that had roses climbing up the porch. Tam had a little garden of his own. He grew lettuce and carrots and sweet sugar peas. Every day Tam weeded his garden. Every other day he hoed it. One day when Tam came into his garden, he saw a great big bunny eating a leaf of lettuce. And the next day the bunny was there again. He'd been having a feast. Oh, how he loved lettuce and carrots and peas. The bunny even came in the rain. Tam thought, that bad bunny won't be here today, I know. But there he was, wiggling his pink nose and chewing fast. Can't you see it's raining? You'll get your fur all wet, said Tam. Go away, you're eating up my whole garden. The bunny hopped away. Tam asked his mother, do you have some clothes of mine that are too old and got torn by mistake? Yes, said his mother. Good, said Tam. I need a scare bunny. Tam asked his father to build a scare bunny out of 2 pieces of wood. If that bunny sees a scare bunny, he'll think it's me and he'll hop away, Tam said. Tam and his mother dressed the wooden pieces in Tam's old holey clothes. On top of the make-believe head, they put the hat with its straw sticking out. This scare bunny will frighten him, won't it? Asked Tam. That's certain, said Father. The next day, when Tam went out to look at the garden, there was the bunny in a corner, eating sweet sugar peas. And the next day, he was much nearer the scare bunny, eating carrots. And the next day, he was close beside the scare bunny, eating lettuce. Tam chased the bunny, but the bunny hopped away very slowly. He looked at Tam as if he thought Tam was a friend. That bad bunny isn't scared by the scare bunny, and he doesn't think it's me, and he isn't even afraid of real me anymore, said Tam. Then Tam had an idea. He divided his garden into 2 gardens. He drew a line, down the middle with his hoe. Here are 2 nice gardens, said Tam. I didn't need such a big garden. Tam's father built a little picket fence around one of the half gardens. He left the other half garden without a fence. The next day, when the bunny saw what Tam had done for him, he hopped quickly to the garden without a fence and began to eat. 1 garden for you and 1 for me, said Tam. The bunny wiggled his pink nose and chewed fast to show he was pleased. Now every day Tam weeds, and every other day he hoes, and the bunny eats in his own garden, and they watch each other. They like to be together. Now they really are friends.
Okay. It is now time for our shared milestones. You may drop a stone in a bowl on your own, light a candle, or share in the chat window joys and sorrows, what is lifting you up or weighing you down. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. I am not seeing the service. What am I supposed to be doing here? Oh, the offertory. Yes, it's now time for our congregational offering. If you're with us for the first time, feel free to pass the virtual plate. Your presence here in the Zoom room is your gift to us. Members, you may click the link on your screen to make a donation or a pledge. Even though we're not in our beloved fellowship hall yet, our operating expenses are still the same. You may also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Claphard Ridge Road in Danbury. And thank you for doing your part to support and sustain this community we love so much. Please join me in our congregational response. In the spirit of compassion and service, we dedicate these, our offerings.
So this is a time of a lot of change at UU Danbury, as I'm sure you've noticed. We already have the new ministers, Reverend Kathleen, starting August 1st, someone who some people know and others don't. We're entering a new phase of COVID and hybrid services, and there will be more changes than that. The tech equipment will make some changes to the building. There will be a new giant TV screen. I have mixed feelings about that, but it'll definitely allow us to do some nice things. You have new co-presidents, so new agendas, new initiatives. And we will begin working to implement the 8th principle, which will mean that we'll be having to look at things from a new point of view, from the view of marginalized persons, taking ourselves out of the center and putting them in the center. The two goals of, and I'm not going to talk at length about the 8th principle, but the two goals of this are to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community and to accountably dismantle oppression. So there will be at least some different shifts as we move forward. That's why the question in the chat was about what traditions do you like and what traditions maybe will be changing. And this makes for a lot of stress within our congregation. And what I want to talk about today is ways to minimize that so that we can move forward without creating a lot of strife and discord. As we attempt to make everyone welcome at the table, we also need to ask ourselves, who are we setting a place for? Who are we leaving out? What kind of assumptions are we making when we set the place? Large overweight people? Non-English speakers? Those with less education but maybe more life experience? Non-conforming genders, and I don't mean just trans or gender fluid, but agender or non-binary? What about parents with young children? People with poor eyesight or who are hard of hearing? We have work to address hard of hearing. I think we've done reasonably well there. But the list can go on forever, and I've found, as I've considered this question a lot over the last few months, that I keep finding new groups that I hadn't thought about. This is an important question to consider because people don't like going where they get hurt. Marginalized people tend to have a lot of hurt and trauma that they're carrying around. That's kind of the definition of being marginalized and oppressed. And unintentional microaggressions remind them of it and bring that pain to the surface, which of course is not our intention. As an example of an unintentional microaggression, I want to tell a story. Those of you who have read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson will probably recognize this, but I think it's a good example of what happens if you're not careful and thinking hard about how you act. A father and his young son were eating at McDonald's. It was a rare chance for them to get together since the boy's parents had recently separated. The boy ordered what he wanted, but when it came, he said he just wanted to drink his juice. The father told him he needed to eat his vegetables first. The boy, of course, protested, and the father said he needed to do as he was told and eat his vegetables. Now, I need to pause and fill in a little background information. The father and the boy were of what Isabel Wilkerson calls the subordinate caste. They were black. And there were a couple of things going through the father's mind that may not have been obvious to an observer. One is that he didn't want the boy to go back to his mom hungry or on a sugar kick. And another was that even though the child was still young, he knew that for a black boy growing up, respecting authority and being able to do what you're told promptly can save your life sometimes. So the father was telling the boy he needed to eat his vegetables, and an older woman at a nearby booth who was of the dominant caste, white, came over and stood over their table, leaned in toward the little boy and told him, "You drink your juice if you want to. It's okay to drink your juice." The woman didn't address or acknowledge the father at all. The father was beside himself. A perfect stranger had gotten up, disregarded him, and told his child to disobey his parent right in the parent's face. The father also had to consider what he could say in these circumstances, because he knew that depending on his perceived response, there could be consequences. He ended up simply raising his hand and saying, "Ma'am, you need to go sit down. Don't come to my table. I don't know you." The woman was surprised, but she went back to her table, and the rest of the day went without incident, but of course the father had a hard time enjoying it. Building beloved community is hard work. The road in the search for truth is rocky and uphill. Accept that you'll make plenty of mistakes along the way. We all will. I have and I will. Simply say you're sorry. Don't take time to explain. Just let the conversation move on. In these moments of misunderstanding, I would ask you to lean into your discomfort and let it guide you. But even more importantly, commit to staying at the table. Commit to continuing your attempts and these interactions. As my mother used to say, when you fall off the horse, get right back on. As we talk about growing our congregation and making a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, which I don't know that that has to mean Sunday services being diverse and multicultural. It might, but we have a lot of roles besides that 1 hour on Sunday. So we need to be saying not just you come here to us and see what we have to offer, but we need to go there to where disadvantaged people are in order to develop competencies. This might require more of our universalist side than our Unitarian side, more radical love for everyone than intellectual analysis, which I love and I'm good at. We need to ally ourselves with underserved groups and let them lead us. Remember, we're in their spaces. Now we're the ones who are on the margins. We need to go places like public schools. We used to have a program there, but we don't anymore. Prisons, like the one down the street. Churches for people of color and NAACP functions like the breakfast a couple of weeks ago. Of course, as we're invited and remembering that we're not running the show, they are. UUCD can make more of a visible presence at town gatherings, not just Danbury, but surrounding towns too. And I also feel that we need to be in the halls of power, lobbying on behalf of the causes that underserved people want us to, especially local town councils, but also the state capitol. And I think we have a lot of work to be done with our current governor, whose very privileged background seems to make it very hard for him to perceive what it's like to be a disadvantaged person. I think the ARC Peace Camp that we're doing next month is a great use of our facilities and a way to build these bridges, these doorways between UUCD and the wider community. Another positive example, I think we do a good job of supporting local food pantries and preparing and serving the meals at Dorothy Day Center. And I also want to acknowledge that we helped with overnight supervision at the shelter until it closed in March. These are all examples of reaching outside our normal community, our normal social group. As well as providing services, I think there's a lot of opportunity to use the creative arts. They can play a big role in building connections between people. That could be, it could be drawing and painting, but it could also be music or theater. We have space people could use for rehearsals when we are allowed to get back in person. As well as classes, we could do community art projects or fairs. Use your imagination. It's kind of limitless possibilities. But as we make these changes and add things, will necessarily lose some things, and that can be, it can cause pain and sadness, but it can also cause anger and frustration. And there may be things that you like about our congregation and how it functions, and you don't want to change. The fact is, some decisions that we're going to have to make will affect the whole group, and people are going to be dissatisfied. You can't please all the people all the time. But I think that with a conscious effort, we can get through these difficult times by practicing more radical love and acceptance of each other as well as people outside the community. UUA President Susan Frederick Gray said at General Assembly this year, "This is no time for a casual faith." And how? Right, radical love and acceptance. We need to show each other more love, more trust, give each other the benefit of the doubt. We'll need to use patience and grace in order to make all of us certain that we are supported by the rest of the congregation, that we have each other's backs. We'll need to get better at calling out each other's errors and unintentional microaggressions, and doing it lovingly, kindly, while calling each other in to the circle. There are some techniques and tools we can use to get us there. We don't have to do it all on our own. There are communication tools. We can listen deeply and focus on what the speaker's saying instead of our response to it. And then pause afterwards, take a breath, and then maybe paraphrase it back and say what you heard them say, and then say, "Is that what you meant?" I know I, for one, misunderstood the proposal we voted on at the annual meeting about whether or not to offer health insurance to our employees. And the only way I discovered that was by having a slower, calmer conversation afterwards. As Aaron Burr said in the musical Hamilton, "Talk less, smile more. Seek to understand more than be understood. Share your own views when they can best contribute to the whole conversation and the larger group. We also need to make quiet spaces, as the author Guy Gavriel Kay said, spaces for the words to flow into, so we can hear the less privileged when they whisper their thoughts and contributions. We can use circles like the discernment circles that I learned about in a workshop at General Assembly this year. There are other techniques like modified consensus, which allows objections to be aired more fully and addressed more thoroughly before the decision is made. You'll be hearing more about circles and modified consensus in the coming months. The focus is on getting to consensus, to something everyone can live with, although we may use democracy and a majority vote along the way. As this circle workshop said at General Assembly, is it good enough for now and safe enough to try? If so, let's try it. I thought we did a good job with the 8th principle, even though initially there was some strong feelings, I would say, like the ones that came up at the annual meeting, if you were there. I think the fact that we took time and moved slowly, didn't rush, gave it several months to consider. That allows conversations to happen both formal and informal. And we did supply a lot of opportunities for people to discuss and share their view to make sure that everyone was heard. This is the kind of patience and radical love and acceptance that will help us build the beloved community. Another thing I'd like to see us address is I feel like our congregation has unintentionally become pretty siloed by age, pretty separated. The kids that are in RE, our religious education program, since they're in their class during the congregational meetings on Sunday, again, when we're meeting in person, I have to be honest, I don't know most of those kids. I don't know their names. If their parents volunteer a lot, I don't know some of the parents, and certainly not the volunteers that teach the classes every single week. It also looks like plans going forward when we do return to meeting in person call for there not to be a nursery for babies this year. How are we going to meet that challenge using radical inclusion and doing our best to meet everyone's needs? Another example is the young adults group. When we meet at 10 o'clock, the young adults have been meeting at noon, and by that time, we're mostly gone. We don't see them. We don't know what they talk about. And I'm not suggesting that we all need to be in the same room all the time. I just want more connections between these groups so that they're less isolated from each other. If we do grow the congregation, it will not just be by convincing other people to come give us a try on a Sunday morning, but also by being so grounded in our own truths and so loving and thoughtful and careful in our treatment of each other that people will be drawn in and want to join us. I want to end by revisiting the words we spoke earlier when we lit the chalice. Love is the spirit of this congregation. I know it is. I've seen it. We have a covenant with each other that allows us to both serve and protect each other, but also to know that we are served and protected by the entire congregation. That said, we must continually strive to live together in peace. It's not easy, and to help each other. And perhaps hardest of all, to always seek and be able to speak the truth in love. And I like the way that's worded because seeking the truth suggests that it is subjective and will appear differently to different people. And that's okay. We can agree to disagree as long as we know that we'll all be here for each other. I'll be here for you. I'll have your back. And I know that you'll have mine as well. Thank you. There will be a moment of silence while that sinks in. I know it's a lot. And now join us in singing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. See Wings hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Join me in our closing hymn, When I Am Frightened. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? Will show me compassion. Then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
These closing words are from Hosea Ballou. If we agree on love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. Amen.